Welcome to Sprocket Man Designs, everybody. What you're currently gazing at is the underneath of a Vax carpet cleaner. The belt's burned out on it, so been on the interweb, got a replacement, and it's time to fit it. This is, in theory, a very simple job. So we all know what theory can do to your day. To begin with, it's just literally undoing a bunch of screws. Fortunately, you don't have to remove all the screws from the bottom of it. Vax, in their wisdom, designed this thing so if the belt, or when the belt more accurately, gives up, you can just get in there by removing, I think it's 7 screws. Soon find out, I've done 2. Actually, I just lied to you, it's 8, I just spotted the last one. I'd rather spot it now than when I'm busy trying to pull it apart and wondering why it's all jamming up. Right. As with all these things, it didn't burn out at the end of a job. It actually did it halfway through a job. That's the joy of owning cats, I'm afraid. The wheel that you saw me build in the last video, sent a video of it to its eventual owner, my mate, and he was very pleased, and he gave me a list of jobs he wanted doing to the bike that it's going to go onto. So between us we decided, instead of him having the wheel back straight away so he can stick it in and use it, we're going to wait until the remaining parts required to complete the entire bike are in, and then he can, well, I can get the bike set up . What am I doing wrong here? It's only a screw, for God's sake. I wasn't holding it straight enough. And I don't know whether you can actually hear it in the background, but the idiot engine is running happily. It's keeping the dogs quiet anyway. At present, top gear is on, so that goes there, that goes there. Yeah, that is all that remains of the old belt. I think I'll go and just knock this in the bin. I'm now looking at this and wondering whether this is meant to rotate. Because if it is, that is jammed up solid. I mean, it's a tensioner pulley. Well, I've got to say, if that's meant to turn, I can't see how. Interesting. What I think I might do, oh man, they don't make this easy. Because it pivots nicely on its spring, but it makes no sense that that cannot move. I mean, it should, because otherwise it's just going to keep melting through belts, and you can see that's what it's, you might be able to see that's what it's done. Just there you can see it's rounded, and then it flattens out where the belt's been running across it. In fact, it's almost cut through it. And they're off. Back in a minute. Okay, turns out that was the postman setting the dogs off. Right, I've managed to free this jockey wheel off. The only drawback bit now, of course, that it's got a slightly flat face to it. I'll refit it in the vague hope that it works. If that fails again, I've got another backup belt, so that's not too much of an issue. But I'll then have to see whether that part is available, or whether you have to buy that whole dirty grate unit, which probably costs a third of the price of the carpet cleaner. It's usually the way these things go. So, here's our new belt. Nothing complicated, no teeth, no ridges, just a very simple rubberized belt. So, the way this goes in, I discovered the hard way when I fitted the belt that burned out last, that has to go in there like that. And if you do them one at a time, the shaped ends don't move around so much, so it's actually easier to line it all back up and just pop it back in. Now from this point, the drive is just on the end there, so you just gently hook that over like so, and now in principle, of course, it is just a matter of refitting all of this in the correct order, which is always a bonus. There is a guide pin which locates down here somewhere, I think, and inside here there's another pin, so it just keeps everything straight. That sits in like that. And it's simply a reversal of all the screws going back in. If it wasn't for the fact that our biggest dog goes absolutely spare when you turn on carpet cleaner, vacuum cleaner, plug in an extension lead, I would run it up to make sure it's working properly, but I don't actually think I can be bothered with the sheer volume of noise he is going to make. Now, the reason I'm skipping that screw for now is because this is the end under tension from the spring on the jockey wheel. I'd rather just lock that down so the pressure is released and I don't have to stand here gripping onto it or pressing down on it, if you want to be accurate. Okay, now I can drop that screw. Okay, and now the front cover. And the last 4 screws. I am wondering whether that flat spot on that jockey wheel is going to lead to further problems, because if it just rotates to that point and stops, it'll burn out another belt. Although for the life of me I could see no reason why it had stopped turning. Although, to be fair, trying to turn it with pliers was a little bit futile. I ended up using a Stilson wrench, or what some people refer to as slip joint pliers, because I've got a decent sized pair in the toolbox, and held the rest of the assembly in a vise. It took quite a grunt to get it going, but after a few seconds it all freed up quite nicely, so I'm not sure why it seized in the first place. Unless it was the sheer volume of cat hair that goes through this machine had somehow managed to gum it up. That said, nothing came out, so I'm a little bit of a loss as to why that would occur. On the positive side, It was a relatively straightforward fix. And there we have it, ready to go. And now all I've got to do is clean the water up off the seat that the handle was sitting on, because obviously it's a carpet cleaner. Clean water comes from here, down through pipes, through the system, up into the collector that sits in there. And when you tip it upside down, any spare liquid in there comes out. So it did. Thanks for watching, hope that wasn't too uninteresting, and see you again soon.